Hello again. My name is João Ribeiro and I'll be moderating today's webinar. Today's webinar is about quality content test and Salma Jafri will explain how to define quality using the value factor and what are the key factors to determine that quality. She will also explain how to create quality in a consistent way. So, without further ado, I will pass on the microphone to Salma. Salma, can you please log in?
Okay, hi everyone. It's me. I'm Salma Jafri, and thank you, Joao, for that introduction. And thank you, everyone who is here on the webinar. And I mean, I'm gonna just wait for more people to just come on in. And while people come in, I thought that maybe I could tell you a little bit about the webinar and tell you a little bit about myself. So first off, I'm really excited to see that there are people from all around the world who've joined us today. So there's people from Denmark and Singapore, India, the US, Germany, Portugal, Poland. So that's really exciting. So thank you so much for being here. So who am I? I'm a content marketing consultant, and I have worked with companies such as LinkedIn Marketing Solutions and Dell, TechPage One, which is their marketing portal. And, I have been in the industry for a few years and working with all these big name players. And now my focus is mostly with working with entrepreneurs and, small business owners as well as enterprise level companies. And it's been an interesting journey because I have to say that my love affair, like literally, I have a love affair with content marketing. It started a few years ago, and I graduated, with a traditional MBA in marketing, and I worked in the corporate sector as a marketing manager at various positions with, three different companies. And during that time, I kind of realized that I didn't really like traditional advertising, right? I didn't really like the interruption aspect and the push aspect of traditional advertising. And so I started to get into content marketing as a means of marketing with an attraction-based content strategy where you create quality content and you create value that pulls people in, it pulls your audience in. And that to me was just like, it just blew my mind. It was like, wow, okay, this is like a great way to give value. And also to able to market your products and services really well to the specific audiences that you are targeting. And I, was also buoyed by the fact that online marketing was taking off around that time. And because of the internet, there was a change in the way that consumers approached information. And it all started with, when we start to look for information, we typically turn to the internet, and so does our audience, right? And they start a search query, and that is usually the first point of entry where people are looking for information or looking for something specific to solve a problem or whatever. And that is where content creates a huge opportunity for marketers, that we are able to cater to those requests, to those search queries coming in, and make sure that our offer is aligned with what our audience is searching for. And so that just wowed me. And I have to say that content marketing has sort of become, I mean, people give me like weird looks when I say this, but it's sort of like a way of life for me. I mean, think about it. It's authentic, it's helpful, it's generous, it places a lot of importance on giving. And, that's sort of the characteristics of being a good person. And so I really feel that this is something that I was born to do, and I loved doing this. So in this webinar, I thought that we could talk about how to create this particular content, because what I do is that right now I create videos, right? So I have YouTube trainings and YouTube videos where I give training on content marketing tips, And these videos essentially are the place where I am able to give a lot of free content to marketers and to entrepreneurs who are looking to market. And so, I wanted to do this webinar to share some of the content that I put out in these videos as well. And I think as regards to this webinar, we'll be taking questions at the end. So I hope you guys all stick around till the end. And there's like some, cool stuff as well in the middle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch off the video and we're going to go into the presentation mode. So stay right there. All right, great. So today's webinar is called the Quality Content Test. Are you creating value or shit? And I think that one of the most interesting things about this topic is that the word quality, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. The word quality is really a loaded word for me. So I wanted to make a webinar around this particular topic. All right. So a couple of months ago, I was on this Twitter chat one day, right? And I think it was the CM World chat. It's like the Content Marketing World chat. And I was on this chat. And by the way, I love using Twitter chats as a way to connect with an audience and to, as a marketing resource to find out whether, what people are talking about. So if you haven't tried a Twitter chat before, I think this might be a good time to, hop on one. And Zhao, I think we have a quick poll question regarding Twitter chats. Maybe we could ask our audience. So it's a quick yes or no question, and you can just quickly click that, and then we'll go on. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go on, right? So I was on this Twitter chat one day, and we're talking about content creation and all of that, and everyone was talking about quality, right? Every single person on there, and it was like a whole chat room full of marketers, right? So there are all these marketers in a chat room talking about quality. So and every question was answered with the answer quality. Like for example, okay, what kind of content should you create? And everyone is like, oh, we should create quality content. What kind of content gets the best ROI? Quality content gets the best ROI. Okay. What kind of content goes viral? I mean, you guessed it. Quality content, right? And so everyone's going on and on about like quality. And I sort of had a funny moment. I took a screenshot. So this is what I wrote. I was like, after the latest CM World chat, I want to write an article called Why Content Marketers Need to Stop Taking Themselves So Seriously. Because really, everyone was like just gung ho on this one word. And it just didn't have any meaning because, I mean, what really is quality? And how can you just say that quality content goes viral? What does that even really mean? And so I mean, that's why I really put together this presentation to help marketers define quality. So this, webinar is going to help you if you are a content creator who has to create a large, amount of content, or if you're a branding specialist who wants to have more impact with your content, or you're a blogger who wants, audience retention, or you're a marketing strategist or a brand manager and you want, to reduce your creation overwhelm and focus on what matters, and you want to really turn around the decline in customer retention, and you want to create stuff that resonates more, resonates deeply, and resonates with the right audience. So really, in effect, you want to be able to target anyone who wants to get their content noticed, right? And that really is the focus of this webinar. And so what we're going to cover in this are basically three things. So first, we are going to define quality using the value factor. Then we're going to talk about the three factors that determine quality. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to create quality content to begin with. So let's just get started. All right, so just what is quality? So I think that at this point, we can probably put up the second poll question, and you guys can quickly answer that. I'm going to have a sip of water while you guys go ahead and do that. Okay, so continuing. All right, so just what is quality? All right, so take a look at this image. This image is of a rock, right? So here's this rock, and you can buy it for almost $20, right? So would you? Would you buy this rock for $20? I mean, it's a hypothetical question. You can answer in your mind. And what this product shows you is that it retails for $20 and it made its owner $15 million in the first 6 months. And now I'm sitting here thinking, okay, that is just absolutely crazy because I mean, if I wanted to get a rock, I could just like go out in my backyard and, pick up a rock. Really, I'm not going to spend $20 on this. And this is like pretty much shit to me, right? It's not quality for me. But what about all those people who spent that money and bought this product and are using this, rock packaged in a cardboard box called pet rock? And I mean, just think about it from their perspective, right? They are willing to pay for something for this particular product. And what that means is if they're willing to pay for it, then that means they have assigned value to it. And if they've assigned value to it, that means that it's worth something to them. So if it's worth something to them and it's not worth something to me, what does it mean in terms of quality? So quality is when you add value, but value is subjective, right? Not everybody treats value the same way. What is valuable for me could not be valuable for you and vice versa. So in the quality content test, you will know 3 questions that you can ask of yourselves every single time you sit down to create content. These are the 3 questions you should ask yourself so that you'd know whether you are creating value or not, right? Because value is subjective, so it's going to depend on a lot of factors, right? But these 3 questions will help you narrow down those factors, and it will really help you know whether this is something that is going to resonate with your audience or not. So the first question is, does your content educate? So what does that really mean, right? What is content that educates? So if your content makes someone feel more knowledgeable or proficient, it leaves them feeling enlightened or well informed, they are better aware, they feel like they're an expert, or suddenly they're more competent or skilled in doing something. So all of these things are going to make your audience feel that they have learned something new. And so your content would be educational for them. And let's do an example here. So this is an example of the Articulate blog, right? Now, Articulate is a company that makes e-learning software. And maybe it sounds a little boring in the beginning, but for their core audience who are, e-learning specialists and instructional designers who make e-courses and stuff, this blog is a goldmine resource for them. I mean, they come on here and get all sorts of tips and templates and resources to make their e-learning projects faster and more convenient and more affordable. And so for them, this is highly engaging educational content. And so therefore, it is high quality, high value for them. And as a result, their blog has 93,000 subscribers, which is a lot for a niche business blog to have, really. It's not, a fun blog or an entertainment blog or anything. It's a hardcore business blog. So that's like a lot of subscribers. And you can imagine that they would be giving a ton of educational value and content to their subscribers. So that's one way of measuring quality, whether you are educating your audience. So what's the second way? The second question that you need to ask is, does your content empower your audience? So let's think about that for a minute. So if your content makes your audience feel strengthened, if it makes them feel like they have autonomy, like you have enabled them to grow and change, that you have given them some kind of decision making power, that they have a positive image about themselves after consuming your content, or they have mastery over a subject, that is a huge, heady feeling. It is a wonderful feeling to give to somebody. And it's almost like a drug, right? It places you on high. So it makes you feel empowered, like you can do anything, like you have this amazing knowledge and this power that you didn't have before. And so let's look. I have two examples to share with you about content that empowers your audience. So the first one is the king of motivational speakers, Tony Robbins. And every time he gets up on stage or makes a video or does a seminar or coaching, he is giving his audience the power to make a difference in their lives. And that is some pretty strong stuff. And as a result, he's world famous and 143,000 subscribers and book deals and millions of dollars in sales and revenue. So he is the quintessential example of someone who is creating content to empower their audience. Now, I want to share one more example with you of a woman called Marie Forleo. Now, she empowers women entrepreneurs and she gives them, like, for example, in the screen grab, you can see one of her videos. It's called How to Find the Courage to Do Anything. Pretty generic, right? You might think, but pretty necessary for entrepreneurs and for people starting their businesses. And so this kind of content really, really resonates with our audience, and it makes the audience feel like, oh wow, like we can do this stuff now. After seeing her videos and after hearing what she has to say, we feel like we can do this. And that is a really, really strong way to judge whether your content is creating value for your audience. All right, so let's move on to question number 3 that you can ask when you sit down to create content, and that is, does your content entertain your audience? Now, I'm not necessarily talking about becoming a cartoon or a comic strip here. So what are we talking about? How do we entertain our audiences? So anytime that you can, amuse them, fascinate them, engage them, make them happy, captivate them, cheer them on, please them, charm them, those are all kinds of examples of entertaining content. And a lot of times, a lot of corporate firms think, and a lot of businesses think that, oh, okay, we are in an industry where we can't really create entertaining content. Our vertical is boring and it's like business focused, and like there's these senior executives and stuff and everybody, and we can't really do entertainment. A lot of businesses trip up on entertainment factor, whereas entertainment is actually one of the biggest. If I were to choose one of the three, like education, empowerment, or entertainment, then entertainment is one of the biggest ways to attract a quality audience, because who doesn't like being entertained? Nobody. Everyone wants to take a break from their routine, from their mundane, from their regular lives, to have some fun, to smile. And so I want to give you an example of a company who did this really well. So this is Aura Brush, and Aura Brush makes tongue cleaners. Say what? Tongue cleaners, right? Not even toothbrushes, right? Tongue cleaners. And at first they're like, okay, you think who would buy a tongue cleaner and why would you be buying a tongue cleaner, right? So Aura Brush went the traditional route and they spent a lot of thousands of dollars on marketing on TV channels, and they got zero sales, right? Nobody really understood what the product is or why to buy it. And then they spent $500 on YouTube and they made a video with a college student called the bad breath test. Now, yeah, and I'm seeing a question here about B2B, and this is B2B. So, okay, no, this is B2C, but I'm going to give you more examples in upcoming in the Q&A actually at the end. So this is an example of a company selling a product which is, it's just a hygiene product and selling it in a really entertaining way. So what they did is that they made a video about how you can test your own breath for bad breath, because it's embarrassing to ask somebody else, oh, do I have bad breath or whatever, and it's embarrassing. And also what they did was their tongue cleaner solved this problem, so it fit in really well with their content, right, and with their messaging. So it was just a genius marketing strategy, and it earned them, this particular video is like 24 million views, and it helped them be stocked all over the world in pharmacies like CVS and stores such as Walmart and Target, and they ship worldwide, and now they've expanded into tongue cleaning products for your pet. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, this is just an example of how you can think beyond the box and create entertaining content. So there you have it. The three E's of quality content: educate, empower, and entertain. And that sort of, begs the question, well, okay, great. Now I know these three steps, these three questions to ask, but how do I execute, right? How do I actually create this quality? So I'm thinking in my mind that I want my content to be educational or empowering or entertaining or perhaps all three. So where do I start? So in this webinar, I want to give you 7 places that you can start, 7 steps, 7 things that you can do to start creating quality content. So before we get into all the steps, I think, Joao, we can put up the third poll question right about here. Okay, I am back. I hope you guys are too, and still with me here. All right, so are you ready for the 7 steps? Let's get straight into the, okay. So the 7 ways to create quality. Step 1. Now, I love this step. This is start with the end in mind. And what it means is that before you even decide what you want to create, you first think about how it will make that person feel. How will it make your audience feel as soon as they have started to consume whatever it is that you're putting out, excuse me. And so that is a really good place to start. Feelings and emotions, I feel, connect us. Uh, Often in terms we think, that our audience is another mindless robotic firm or something, but really no, there are people behind every decision. There are people consuming your content, and people are driven by emotions. And if you make somebody feel something, then that is a powerful driver of how they will react to your content. So I have a video. I told you in the beginning that I make these video tips, and for each of these 7 steps, I have a video that you could watch that will explain it in more detail. So this is a video that I made, and my end goal in making this video was to make people feel good about marketing. So I wanted to make a video that shows that marketing is not pushy or spammy or just about link building or all of that stuff. It's not really about just push, push, push and buy, buy my product. It's really about how to market by being genuine and authentic and giving real value and creating stuff that people actually want. And so I think there's a link to my YouTube channel that's going to be appearing at the end. I think it's the last slide. And so you can go there and check out these videos. So step 2, buyer personas. Now, here's the thing. Most people, when they think about, okay, who your audience is and who you're creating for, they have like this demographic information. Oh, women 25 to 50 and, income this. But really, what I mean here is that you need to really drill down and find the exact person, one person who you are solving this problem for. And what a buyer persona template does for you, if you sit down and like really, really decide to make a buyer persona, you can do this in so much detail. You can talk about your audience's, that one person in your audience's fears and expectations and what drives them, what motivates them, what their normal daily routine is like, how many children do they have, what's their disposable income, what are their finances, what is their marital status. A lot of thought can go into this, into creating a buyer persona. And when you do this, you really hone in and really, really get specific about creating for that one person. And of course, then your content appeals to other audience types which are related as well, but it really starts to appeal to the exact kind of person whose problem that you're solving. And that generates a lot of value for that person and for that particular demographic. And I have a video on this, as well as I have a buyer persona template on my website that you can download for free. And my website is salmajafri.com. And if you go there /products, you'll be able to see a buyer persona template that you can download. And the video that I have here is how to speak in your customer's voice to inspire their trust. Because as soon as you know who your customer is, then you begin speaking in the words that they would use. And that is something that builds trust. All right, so step 3 in creating quality, ask why an infinite number of times. Like until you get down to the reasons of just why you are creating this, right? And the more times you ask yourself why, okay, why does this product exist? Oh, it solves a technological need. Okay, why? How does it make their life better? Why? Just keep on asking why, until you get to the core reason, because nobody buys, just a product. People want to buy a better version of themselves. People want to buy stuff that makes their lives better, that enriches their life, that they buy experiences. And so you really want to communicate in that language. You want to communicate the experience your product delivers. And the best way to do that is to keep asking why until you get down to the reasons of why you're selling. And I have a video on this as well, which is called What Are You Really Selling? And it teaches you it takes you through a couple of product examples and how asking why can help you get closer to your value proposition. So step 4, of course, if you want to create real value and create real quality, your content has to be different from everybody else. Just another blog post about the same thing that everybody in the industry has already written about is boring, and it offers no real value. The only way to offer that value is to differentiate yourself. What is your unique take on it? What is your perspective on that particular problem? What insight do you especially have that nobody else offers? So your unique take is extremely valuable. And I made this video, right? It's called How to Create Your First Website in 20 minutes without any coding. And the reason I made this video was because I saw that there were hardly any examples on YouTube about a live website creation, like literally start from scratch and have absolutely no knowledge of what resources to use, and you have a website at the end, a self-hosted website by yourself, without any knowledge of HTML or anything. And this video became really popular because it offered that unique perspective. And so differentiate yourself, step 4. So step 5 is reach. So great, quality is great, but it's only great if it's being put out wherever your audience really is. So how will your audience find your content, and where will they consume it? And in what form would it appeal to them the most? So these are all questions that you really want to be thinking about and asking yourself when you are deciding to create quality. And my video on this topic has to do with headline writing because, I mean, Ogilvy famously said, right, that 80% of people are going to read your headline. And so really you want to grab people with your headline. That is something that will amplify your reach. And so headline writing is something that even as marketers or as brand strategists, everyone needs to study and learn and look at sites like Upworthy and BuzzFeed and all, which write like 20 different variations of each headline. So yeah, headline writing is a whole separate topic in and of itself. Let's move on to step 6, which is call to action. So great. Quality is also defined by what you tell your audience to do next. Okay, so great. They are, reading your stuff or consuming your content, but then give them something to do after that. Don't just let them, move away from your website or X out your blog post or like read the next, Facebook post. You really want to make sure that you tell them what you want them to do next. And so one of the ways to do that is to make people really listen to you. So you can watch my video on how to be interesting and so interesting that people will, feel helpless. They will have to listen to you. There's a lot of psychology in this video. I think this one is something that you'll find interesting, pun intended. All right. So step 7, the Pareto Principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. Now, the 80-20 rule states that 80% of your success will come from 20% of your effort. So that means that if 20% of your content is going to explode, it's going to really bring in the traffic, it's going to bring in sales, it's going to bring in the audience, it's going to bring in the engagement. And so what you want to do is create a lot initially so that you can find out what kind of content resonates the most with your audience. And this ratio will typically be skewed in 80-20 way, like 90-10 or some variation of the ratio, but typically a small portion of your content is going to bring in the most amount of traffic and results and revenue and engagement. And so what you want to do is when you think about how to create quality, you want to find out what that 20% is and start focusing on doing more of that. And so, of course, I have a video out on create less and promote more, which incidentally is also the topic of my upcoming book. And if you are interested in learning how to spend 20% of your time creating and 80% of your time actually marketing and promoting and engaging, then this book would be a good read. And if you're wondering how to get it, then you can just go to my website. That's salmajafri.com/subscribe. And as soon as it's out, you will be the first to know because I will send out an email newsletter to all the subscribers. And those were the 7 steps. And I'm actually going faster than I thought I would. So we're about, I think, 40 minutes into the presentation, and I am almost done. So what I would like to end on is a quote, and I love this quote. It says, Tom Gerace, stop interrupting what people love and start becoming it. So if you want the essence of creating quality content in one line, then this is really it. Just become what people love. So whenever you find something going viral, whenever you find something doing really well online, and you see that people are loving that kind of stuff, then you know that, okay, this is stuff that you could emulate, find your own angle on, find out how to work for your industry. These are the ways to connect with me. My YouTube channel is there as well, so you can go there and watch all the videos. And of course, I'm present on just about every social network. And if you have your questions, this would be a great time to ask them. So I'm going to just pause here for a bit and let Zhao take over.
Hi, Salma. Thank you so much for the have questions for Salma, you can use the chat box. Just type the question and Salma will answer those questions. And while you do that, I'm going to explain what's going to happen next. So after the webinar is over, we will send you a survey. And in that survey, we'll kindly ask you to evaluate today's webinar and give some feedback to Salma so that she can get that feedback to improve even more this presentation. So are there any questions that you'd like to ask Salma? I see that Nancy is typing, so we will wait for this. So after you finish the survey that I just mentioned, you will also get the slides for today's presentation, all this content and links for the YouTube from Salma and other extra things like the template that Salma mentioned before. So we do encourage you to give us feedback and get all those extras.
So yeah,
Salma,
there's
would you like to add something else while Nancy is typing?
yeah, I do see one question here about I think Gina asked this about B2B examples of entertaining content, right? And I'd like to take a stab at answering that. So I hope you're still listening, Gina. So I want to give you two of my most favorite examples of B2B content that's engaging and entertaining. So the first one actually dates back 100 years. Can you believe that? 100 years ago, right? And it's still so pertinent today. So the example that I'm going to talk about is Michelin tires. Now, I think the Michelin tire company is fairly well known enough right now, but they didn't always start as the Michelin tire company, right? They started as the Michelin tire company, but they diversified into an area which was completely different, and it really became an area that they excelled at in content marketing. And what they did was they diversified into a restaurant guide. Right. And so the reason that they did that was because they wanted to sell more tires. And 100 years ago, there were only so many cars in France, which was their headquarters. And what they wanted to do was encourage people to travel further, to take more rides in their car so that they would have to buy tires and eventually replace those tires. And so what they did was they started to publish the Michelin restaurant guide. And I hope you know where I'm going with this because today this particular guide is world famous, and this company Michelin also gives restaurants their stars. So you've heard of the Michelin star, perhaps. So if a restaurant has 5 Michelin stars, that's like the best that you could possibly get on earth in terms of food. And so when Michelin started this restaurant guide, it was in a book format. It was in a print format, and they started distributing this guide. And as the guide became famous, people started to recognize them as a tire company, and their tire business really exploded as well. And so that's one example of a company that did content marketing 100 years ago and really excelled both in the restaurant business as well as in the tire business. And so their end consumer was both you know, owners of vehicles as well as owners of restaurants. But that's pretty diverse and a really cool example. And the second one that I want to give you is of a company called Maersk. And Maersk is a shipping company. And when they were faced with the dilemma of how to create engaging, entertaining content, yes, that's right, Maersk. So when they were faced with this dilemma, they turned to images, right? They suddenly realized that they had a gold mine of images of material taken from their voyages, from their ships, from their sailing destinations, and from a sailor's perspective. So, for example, they're sailing on the Panama Canal, or they're experiencing the Northern Lights, or all these cool exotic locations that Maersk, as a shipping company, together, and they have like a phenomenal Facebook page and an Instagram account. I think they have like over 1 million followers on their Facebook page. And so that's an example of a B2B company creating really engaging and really, really entertaining content. So does that, answer like to some part your question? Or if you have like a follow-up question, I'd love that as well. Okay, I'm going to go to the next question by Nancy. And Nancy is asking, are there any differences you've noticed between when dealing with information products and physical products? So great question, Nancy. And absolutely, definitely, there is some difference, but the core essentials remain the same. So for example, when you're talking about, for example, creating, let's say, a lead magnet content, right? So you want to create something that is going to get subscribers on. And if you're selling information products, then your lead magnet could be something that is also digitally applicable, because people who are buying information products typically want information delivered like via email instantaneously, right? Pretty much instantly. So they want instant gratification. So if you are developing content that offers them an easy download, a quick ebook, a checklist, a form, stuff like that really, really works. Versus you had a physical product and you're trying to get people onto your email list and you say, okay, here is a PDF. It might not, sit with them too well. So what would, right? So what would be a good lead magnet for a physical product? Well, one thing that comes to mind are, coupons and sales vouchers. So people want deals and discounts and percentages off, and everyone loves a good deal on a physical product. So that could be something that you could think about in terms of physical products and giving value and creating something that, appeals to the buyer who is buying physical products versus information products. So does that help you? Does that help you, figure out, okay, who, what, where? And if you have a follow-up question, please type that in too. Oh, thank you, Gina. And boring industries. I thought shipping is pretty boring. Maybe that's just me. And I thought tires are pretty boring too. But if you want to give an example of a specific industry, then sure. Why don't you give me an example, and then we'll take it from there. Gotta love that is typing now. Okay, can't wait. Awesome. More people are typing in questions. They cannot wait. Okay, so Gina is saying aviation is not boring, but the industry is very legacy and conservative. How about ISO certification? Says Anna. Airports. All right, so there, okay, a lot of diverse examples coming in here. This calls for like a full brainstorming session. Like we could talk about, okay, how ISO certification can be made more interesting. Yeah, it is a niche. And you know what I would want to do is we I would want to research on this bit and see, okay, what examples are there of companies? Because there are so many companies doing so much cool stuff. And one of my favorite resources is I don't know if you've heard of this blog. It's called the Big Brand Theory. It's run by a friend of mine, and he interviews these big brands and these big companies, and yeah, okay, and who are doing cool stuff in content. So that's a resource I could point you to, but otherwise we can continue, maybe in a future webinar. So Manoj Shah is writing, hi Salma, good morning. Any set out criteria to test the quality of content? That's pretty much, Manoj, what the entire webinar was about. Were you here? It was pretty much about the criteria to test quality. So my basic criteria is asking yourself 3 questions every time you sit down to create quality. So those 3 questions are, Is my content going to educate my audience? Is it going to impact them? Or is it going to entertain them? Or perhaps all three? And if you start with that, I really don't think you can go wrong. Gina, it's a brand theory, not system. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. Okay, Xiao, you want to take over? I think we are done with questions pretty much.
Okay, Salman, thank you so much for your. And it's true, some of these questions do actually make sense to create a separate webinar where you can, give some more different examples and maybe go into a little bit more detail. So maybe we will have a new webinar with Summer very soon. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. And as I said before, we will send the survey this afternoon or this night, depending uh, where you're at currently. So thank you so much for attending, and I hope to see you at the new webinar from Marquido. Wish you a great day ahead. See you soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.